Hi, I'm Dan Garcia, and I'm entering a dish, green chili crab enchiladas, into the KZST La Tortilla Factory World Wrap Contest. My dish is with the green chilies from New Mexico, which is where my family's from, and Dungeness crab from here in Sonoma County. So our ingredients are simple. Corn tortillas, these are the handmade tortillas by La Tortilla Factory, which is a mixture of corn and flour. Cheese, beans, tomatoes, simple herbs and spices. So let's get started. So the first thing is I love fresh beans, and a real good start to fresh beans is actually taking them and soaking them overnight. I then add a little bit of bacon and to give it a little bit more bump in the flavor, and then I use a pressure cooker and I cook it for about 40 minutes. So once it's brought up to pressure, then it takes about 40 minutes, like I said, and then the beans are done. What we end up with is, after the beans are done, we will have refried beans, very, very creamy, and boy, I really like the flavor that it gives. So after our beans are done, we then are going to roast get our beans started. We're going to roast our chilies. And so what we do is we take our green chilies, put them in the oven at around 450 on a hot plate, and let them roast, and they'll bubble and they'll actually turn brown. And what we end up with are some chilies that look like that. Once we bring them out of the oven and they've cooled a little bit, we then peel them. So the skins, because they've blistered, the skins just peel off, and we end up with the meat, what they call the meat of the green chili. Once we've done that, we then take the green chilies and we dice them up, and you end up with that as your product. So now what we do is, I'm going to make a roux out of flour and bacon oil and a little bit of milk. The actual act of making a roux, I didn't learn it for quite a while. It takes a lot of practice, and my mom actually showed me how to do it. And the first few times that I tried it, I ended up with a chunky roux. I like it because this is actually how I make my biscuits and gravy also for breakfast. So once we get the oil and the flour mixed very nicely, we then add some shallots. A little bit of garlic, a little bit of salt, once those have sauteed a little bit in there, it starts to bubble and just starts to turn brown. We then grab our milk, mix it in very nicely. And once it comes to a boil, we'll then add the green chili. Mix it in very nicely, and then we let it simmer for a while. What we end up with is a nice little pot of the green chili mixed with everything. We then grab our corn tortillas. Again, I just wanted to let you know I'm using corn tortillas that are the mixture of the flour and the corn. And they are most like the handmade type that I grew up with my mother. So anyway, in preparing, you want to put some oil, and I've used a mixture again of bacon and olive oil, and you let them, you let the corn tortillas go into the oil. And they come, and you just douse them just a little bit, and then we end up with corn tortillas that have been slightly sauteed. Now that our roux and our green chili is nice and hot, I add a little bit of clam juice. To our mix. And now we're ready to assemble our green chili crab enchiladas. Now, one of the things about New Mexico in making their enchiladas, most of us are used to seeing enchiladas that are wrapped up into a roll. But what they do in New Mexico is they actually lay them flat like a pancake. So that's how I'm going to do it and show you the way we do it in New Mexico. So you take your corn tortillas, they're going to get rewarmed, they're going to have a little bit of chili in them. And you do that, put a little bit of beans, of our refried beans in there, a little bit of our cheese. And then we're going to take a second and I'm going to fry an egg. Adds a nice little touch to it. Okay, while that's happening, we take another tortilla, let it soak into our sauce. We're going to take the crab, we're going to put it on top. These are chunks of crab that after you've shelled the crab, this is what you end up, including the crab from the body. We're almost done with our egg. The aroma that you get with the green chilies in a house, it so much brings me back to home. I remember just smelling the green chilies when I was a kid and just really got into it. Add a little bit more cheese, and voila, we have our green chili crab enchiladas. Our dogs can hear that the dinner's done.